Hi guys, it's Jennifer. I'm just going to do a quick handheld video, so I apologize if it's shaky. And excuse me if I start babbling. I haven't had my coffee yet. So I just wanted to do a quick video in case there was any questions about my stuff. And also maybe some suggestions. I don't know if anybody has any. This is the box I was going to do for grunge, and this one was for vintage and shabby. But after I posted that picture, I was looking at my boxes in the light, and I realized, great, this one is perfect. I love it. I might add a little more rusting effect to it. And what I used for this box, it's $30, I think is what I paid. Let me get it out. And it's Modern Masters Metal Effects, and it's the copper. It's copper paint. It will turn it into, it's a kit you can get, and it will turn it into metal. It feels like metal. It's not shiny, and it comes with, sorry, I'm trying to reach my craft box, primer that you put on first, and this primer is real thin, but it will make it so that the metal effect or metal works. And once you're done with those two, you can just leave it as is and have it metal, or you can add an oxidizing effect and it will turn it into patina. And if anybody doesn't know what patina is, it's the rusting of copper, the oxidizing of copper. I've used this on metal. I've used it on like a chipboard type, and it's wonderful. I've never used it on paper, but apparently you can. And I actually originally got this because I was trying to I was doing an Altoid swap, and I didn't want a rusty effect. I started with rust, didn't like it. I wanted the turquoisey patina. I'm going to do a little bit more because I wanted a little more patina effect on it. And this also works on metal, and I'll show you that in a minute. But make sure you use a primer. I know a lot of people were asking if the stuff will peel off. Whether your primer is primer, or the other thing I've used is professional gesso, and I got this at Miniatures. It's an art store for like artists, and this was their small for $6. If you bought this at like a crafting store, it would be like $20, I'm sure, because I know their little teeny like Tim Holtzy ones or whatever they are so expensive. And I don't know, I've tried those, and I don't know, I like these better, the art ones, because they're for actual like art people doing their canvases or whatever. So I suggest doing that, not on this. If you do this, use a primer, because if you use gesso, it will, I actually tried that on a different thing, and it does not make it feel like metal. These were primed for, or gesso is primer first 24 hours ahead to make sure it adhered. The other thing I did was lightly, very lightly, so you don't leave scratches, take like a very fine sandpaper and just do the surface. Anybody who's had their nails done knows that when the nail ladies put a coat on, whether it's on tips or natural nails or whatever, they like sand the top of your nails to take the shine out so the stuff adheres. So I've always found, and that's where I got it from nails, is to just take a real fine sandpaper, and that way, and you can see the inside, it does not scratch. It doesn't, that's the crackle effect, but it doesn't scratch the plastic, but it keeps it so it doesn't peel or scratch off, because it has something to stick to, because obviously the shiny is hard to stick to. I can't speak for Mod Podge or anything because I've never done that on these boxes. I've only ever painted and used an acrylic matte spray. Now, my problem with these boxes is, and I noticed this after, first of all, this clumped, so I'll have to take care of that. They're shiny. And for vintage or shabby chic, shiny just does not work. So I'm going to try and use, and it's across the room, so I'm not going to grab it. It's Krylon matte acrylic sealer, and it is to seal in acrylic paints, and it's the matte finish, not the glossy. If I was doing clean and simple or something like that, or like a glitzy blingy one, I would use the shiny. I wouldn't mind, but where the crackled, it did a pretty good job, but it's still too shiny for me. And my problem is I used cheap paint. I loved the color, and I didn't even think about it because I thought the crackle would take care of it. It's satin acrylic paint, so that's something to think about, even mixed with vanilla. That's this color. these two mixed together on top of gesso, and it still was shiny. So I'm bummed about that, and I used just One Step Crackle. So I'm going to try and maybe rough it up a little with a fine paper so it doesn't leave scratches, and then use that matte sealer. And I'll post pictures when I finish to see if I fixed my problem. Because to me, shabby is like dull, you know, like a fluffy pink or this color purple with burlap mixed in, and you know, it's not shiny and pretty. So I'm going to try and fix these because I'm just not happy with that at all. And if this is going to be my vintage, obviously vintage isn't shiny either. The other thing I wanted to share is some ideas for vintage or grunge embellishments. And that is these. I made these for my Etsy shop the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't, like, how perfect would that be for an embellishment vintage or grunge box? And they are rusty, like, elements, rusty clips, rusty, you know, charms. And I know a lot of people like to put the rusty, you know, paper clips in their journals. I also did a patina effect on a few. And I rusted them first, and then I did the patina steps on top. And you have to, like, pile it in a pile when you're spraying it, because there's some of them are so small, like with the paper clips. They're so tiny that it's hard to hit them. And I had to do it twice to get those. And I'm going to scoot you over, and here's some more. And I literally charms and eyelets and little clips. And I actually even did some vintage paper clips. These are actually vintage paper clips, and I did those as well. Now, I know there's lots of recipes out there for rusting, but the best one my mom told me, because I was using white vinegar, and it was taking hours, and it was just annoying because I'm impatient. And she's a 50-plus year Bill the Science Guy type crafter. You take 1.5 parts hydrogen peroxide to 1 part unfiltered cider vinegar. For some reason, something about the unfiltered cider vinegar, and then salt. You want to sprinkle a lot of salt generously on your items, and then put them in a jar. And I have pictures I posted on I think on my Instagram as well, of it literally erupted like a volcano. So make sure you do it in a secure sink. And the other thing you don't want to do, which my son, like, Mom, what are you doing? I have a metal sink, and excuse the mess, metal sink in my crafting area. Oops. I mean, luckily he caught it before I rusted my sink. If you just run hot water while you're doing it, just to make sure. These rusted. Some of them took a little longer because they were a second batch. But like this one, I think it's this, no, it's this one. Like this set here. 15 minutes. And they were so rusty already. So, and these are just paper clips I got from Office Max or Office Depot. These are little, that's a Tim Holtz charm. Just the paper clips, and these are some Stampin' Up! Elements. 15 minutes it took for those. The second round, after I took some out and reused the solution, it took half an hour. So, but I had already had a bunch ready to go, so I was fine with that. So, again, it is 1.5 parts hydrogen peroxide to 1.5 to 1 hydrogen peroxide to vinegar, and then lots of salt. Some people say you do equal amounts, but I've found if you do a little bit more hydrogen peroxide and that unfiltered cider vinegar, it works like that. So I hope that helps. If anybody has any questions or needs any advice, feel free. I'm here. You can message me or whatever you need. So I look forward to seeing everyone's creations. Have a great day.